Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk not about the car, not about suspension, not about the track, none of that. Actually, someone was asking me how I'm creating these track videos with the car lapping and multiple angles and audio and data overlays. Um, and in small pieces, it's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of moving parts to it. So I figured I'd create a video series that kind of covers all the different things I have to do to put out a video like that. And I don't know how many videos there will be in this series, but I'll make a playlist out of it. And before you go out and buy anything that I talk about in the videos, I would suggest you at least get through all the videos, because as we keep moving through the series, the complexity of what you're going to have to do increases. So I'd hate to see you buy something in the beginning only to find out later that that's not something that you're willing to take on or not ready to take on. So we'll start with the easy stuff first. We are going to talk about the hardware needed just to film the different angles and capture the audio, and then the software required to put it all together. Okay, so you probably know I am using GoPros, and I've got 4 different GoPros, one facing forward, one facing the rear, one facing my feet, and then one on my helmet. These aren't the latest GoPros on the market, so I think they're like Hero 7s or something like that. These are actually 3 or 4 years old. These are Hero 3 Pluses. And I chose the Hero 3s because you can get them on eBay really, really cheap. Most people, I wouldn't buy this on Craigslist or on Facebook. Most people want $100 because that's what the trade-in value is to GoPro. But you can pick up you can pick up Hero 3s, like the silvers or whatever, for like 30 to 40 bucks. And I even got lucky. I ordered 3 of them, and that were supposed to be silvers, and I got 2 blacks out of it. So you might get lucky there. The GoPros aren't perfect. They're dinged up. You can tell they've been opened, probably to swap parts in and out. But do they film? Yes. And to me, that's all that really matters. So, and they all come with chargers, batteries, and cases, surprisingly enough. I also have a boatload of batteries. So for the Hero 3s, I think this shape battery is no longer in use, or GoPro no longer uses this shape of battery. So kind of the aftermarket for these batteries are pretty large. I would stay away from Wasabi batteries. Haven't had very good success with those batteries at all. The ones that I like to use are Anchors if you can find them. Be careful with this one though. I had an order for like 8 of them, and it got canceled because Anchor, for whatever reason, stopped making them. Not sure what happened with that. The ones I tend to use now are the refuel batteries, and you can get these on Amazon, and they work great. They're not like crappy like the Wasabi ones. What else do I use here? Assortment of mounts. So I've got the tripod mounts here, and I'll show you why they're in a second. And then these ones, which I think most people are familiar with, these are the little clip-in ones. I have a Wi-Fi remote. This is used to, once you pair the GoPro's Wi-Fi kind of network to this remote, and it's on, like the Wi-Fi's on. The GoPro doesn't have to be on, but the Wi-Fi's on. You can turn on the GoPros, switch the different modes, hit the record button, stop the recording, and then also turn off the GoPros. So it's handy for once the GoPros are all set up and in the car and the Wi-Fi's are turned on, I can just hop in the car, throw on my helmet, turn them all on, hit the record button, just drive off. I don't have to run around to all the GoPros, take them out of their cases, power them up, and then hit the record button. This remote makes life really easy. And again, these are pretty cheap because they've got a newer version of this remote out now, so no one wants this. What else am I using here? I think we're going to have to dive into this bin. So GoPros. And I guess we'll cover mounting of the GoPros. Oh, let's talk about this real quick. Charging of the batteries for the GoPros. So I think for most people, there's a battery in here. Whoops. For most people, I think the way, at least how I've seen it done, is you put the battery in the GoPro, you plug it in, and then you plug the GoPro into the like a wall charger, and that's how most people charge the batteries. I have, I think, 12 batteries, and usually a battery will last me two 20-minute sessions. So I've got extra there just in case. But if you can imagine, 12 batteries is quite a lot, and charging them can take a long time. So GoPro, at one point or another, made this little charging device, and it takes two batteries. So for every one connector, it can charge two batteries. So, obviously I have four cables for four GoPros, and in the same amount of time it takes to charge one battery, or four batteries, I guess, I can charge 8 batteries. So these are handy, and they're, again, pretty cheap because, they don't make this shape battery anymore, no one uses it, and, we're on a GoPro 7 now. Let's see here. Okay, mounting of GoPros. So for the front and the rear GoPros, I use suction cups, and you can get these online on Amazon. Just stick them to the windshield or the outside of the car, as long as it's a relatively flat surface and it doesn't have, it's like not porous, and it's clean. These will stick really well. And these are usually rated in like pounds, how many pounds they can hold. So for something like GoPro, it's like overkill. But what it leads to is a very stable video. Sometimes people use like camera mounts or like phone mounts to record their videos, but you'll see them going around the track and the phone's bouncing all over the place, and the video is very difficult to watch. Other times you'll see the new GoPros being used, and the mount may not be totally rigid, so whoever's filmed it is using the GoPro stabilization, and it almost looks like it'll make the video almost look like the camera is panning side to side or up and down. That's not because the mount's moving. It's not because the mount's moving side to side or up and down. It's vibrating a little bit, and the stabilization is causing that weird movement in the video. It's a feature that GoPro touts, but it leads to like weird looking videos. So it's just better to turn off stabilization and then use a very rigid mount, and that's just going to lead to a higher quality video or better looking video. So the suction cups are great. And then on top of the suction cup, I use a tripod mount. These are both Manfrotto. I have two of them. These are almost identical. Two of these Manfrotto tripod mounts, and these are like 3D mounts, so they articulate in like all different directions. They rotate. If I can hold this, yeah, it rotates like this, and like this. So I can mount this to the window and flip the GoPro around and do that, or I can mount this outside and flip the GoPro around and do that. I mean, you could do you have to play with it because it kind of moves a little weird, but once you get in the position that you want, it's great. And these are designed to hold, I think, like 8-pound cameras. So once you tighten down these little knobs, it doesn't move, and it's super rigid. So I've got two of these. Just a word of caution here. When you buy these suction cups, they come, these bases come with different studs. So you got to make sure that you're getting the right stud for whatever type of mount you're buying. I think tripod mounts use 3/8 studs, and so you got to make sure that your suction cup has a 3/8 stud, right? And then whatever tripod mount you get, it's pretty standardized, but just make sure that the tripod mount is, I think, a 1/4-inch stud, which is here, because that is the size that you need for these little tripod adapters. Alright, what else do I use? I haven't used this in the Subaru, but I do use it in the Cayman occasionally. And I'll use it to hold the GoPro, or I'll hold it to use it to hold the audio recorder. The Cayman has a luggage bar between the passenger and the driver's seat, and this is just pretty much a clamp, heavy-duty clamp. You also use it on a roll bar. Um, I think that is it for the GoPros and the batteries and the charger and the mounting. We can talk a little bit about audio. So, how do I record audio on the GoPros? You probably know this already, but if you are using a GoPro with a waterproof case, audio doesn't really come through very well. You have to be going pretty fast, or be everything the surrounding has to be quite loud for the sound to get into this. And then if you're using a GoPro with a skeleton case, you tend to blow out the audio, right? Especially when you're at the track and you have to be driving around with the windows down. All you're going to get is just wind noise. So for the Hero 3s, they make a mini USB to like a headphone jack that you can plug into the charging port, and then you can buy like a mic, and then put the mic wherever you want and get better audio. This is one way to do it. And this is probably the cheapest way to do it. I think this adapter is really cheap, and this mic's like 20 bucks or something like that. I've taken it a step further, and I use kind of like a handheld recorder. This is a Tascam recorder. These come in like all different sorts of flavors. You can have 1 channel, 2 channel, 4 channels, I don't know, maybe even more. This is a 4-channel recorder. So it records, there's 2 mics here, so that's for stereo, and then 1 mic going into here, and then I have another mic, which I am wearing on myself right now, that goes into here. And it lets me layer the audio, and I think kind of leads to a richer audio or a better sounding, maybe not better sounding, but fuller, I don't know, more detailed, whatever you want to call it. And there's probably ways to optimize this better. I'm just getting started with this audio stuff. The wireless mic, it's kind of expensive, and I use this for making videos like this, and I can bring it to the track, and it lets me mic myself up inside of the car. That way you can hear me talking, or if I have something to say, it comes through on the audio, which is kind of cool. I think that is about it for audio. Let me hop on the computer here and show you all the little bits of software that we're using to put things together. I'm not going to show you how to put the video together right now. We'll do that at the end. But I just want to show you the different pieces of software so you can start thinking about it and playing with them. And then seeing if there's any alternatives to what I'm using, because I think 1 or 2 of them do cost a little bit of money. Alright, so let's hop on the computer here. Okay, so I forgot 2 things. So let me just show you this real quick. If, depending on the recorder that you get, some of the more advanced units won't just take a 3.5mm jack. They'll take what they call like an XLR connector or an XLR microphone. These are like the big mics that you see that like singers would use on stage. And inside of these connectors is a 6.3mm jack, something like that. And so to take a 3.5mm to a 6.5mm, you need to get these adapters. So this is where the kind of confusing part happens. Depending on your microphone, it could output, the connector could be outputting in a mono or a stereo. And depending on the recorder, it could take an input either in mono or stereo. And I think that has something to do with like how this connector is made and like the lines on the connector or something like that. So the thing is, you got to make sure you buy the right adapter, because it can go stereo to mono or mono to stereo. And if you don't get the right one, you could hook it all up, plug it in, hit the record button, and you won't get any audio. Now, it just depends on the recorder and the microphone that you have. And I didn't know that to begin with, so when I first bought my adapters, they didn't work. I had to do a little bit of Googling. So just giving you a heads up, that way you don't run into that same problem. Okay, the second thing is that I do run like a wind reducer on the recorder. You can still hear quite a bit of wind in my videos, and I think it's where I'm placing the recorder. I do place it in the rear passenger side footwell, and I do that because I use magnets. I use these giant pole magnets and just some studs to hold everything in place while I'm driving, but I think that area gets a lot of wind. I think ideally you want to mount this on the front windshield. But, we'll try that another time. Okay, I think that just about covers all the recording hardware. Let's move on to software. Okay, all right, so we're on the computer now, and I wanted to cover kind of the softwares, or the different types of softwares that we're using to put everything together. Um, for video editing, I am using a piece of software called VSDC. I don't do crazy videos. My editing skills are pretty piss poor. And the channel hasn't been on very long, but if you go back to some of the original ones, I've come a long way in my opinion, and that's not very far. Let's just put it like that. So yeah, you can use stuff like Adobe Premiere Pro, I think is the video software, or their video software, which I'm sure has all sorts of really cool things that I would never take advantage of. And so to me, it's not worth paying whatever their monthly subscription fee is. VSDC is actually a free editor, which is how I got turned on to it. And then when I was actually rendering my first video, it wanted to use some hardware acceleration and wanted me to pay. And I did, because it was 20 bucks and it's for like 2 years, so that ends up being like less than $1 a year, which is fine. It doesn't matter. There are plenty of other free video editing softwares out there, and for the most part, they're probably all going to do what you need it to do if it's just making some lapping videos. Another one that my buddy Eric told me about is, and this was after I paid for the VSDC, is DaVinci, and apparently this is free as well, so that might be worth checking out. That's just for the video editing. For the overlay stuff, I use a piece of software called Race Render, and it does a couple of things. It lets me create all the data overlays that you see in all the videos. It lets me, and I can customize the gauges and the colors and all that kind of stuff, which I don't really do anyway. And then it lets me sync the data that I'm getting from the data logger with the video. And that takes a little bit in the beginning, but after a while you'll get used to it. Race Render is made by a company called HP Tuners, or a guy that goes by HP Tuner. There is a free version of Race Render, but it only allows you to render up to 3 minutes of video, and there's limits about what you can and can't do with it, and it puts a logo in. And then you can buy the unlimited version or ultimate version for 60 bucks. It's not a subscription-based software, so once you buy it, you own it, and you get all the updates associated with it. I obviously have the ultimate one. That's how I'm able to put out videos that are 20 minutes long. And I'll say that the software is really good, and obviously I paid for it. However, there is a free version like Race Render, and it's called Dashware. Now, admittedly, I've never played with Dashware, so I don't know what it can and cannot do. But if you're looking to put out a video greater than 3 minutes, it would be worth looking at Dashware and seeing if it's going to suit your needs. I honestly, if I had known beforehand, I would have played with Dashware, but I own Race Render now, so I'm going to use it. The last piece of software that I use is Audacity, which I think has been around for quite a long time. It's like an audio editing software. and I don't really do anything too crazy with it. I just take the different files that come off the audio recorder. So the two mics on the top, that produces one file, and then the two mics that I have in the car, those also produce their own files. So it doesn't mix the files down for me, which is nice. I can pick and choose what I want to do with it. So Audacity lets me pull in the different files, and because it's all recorded on the recorder, I don't have to try to sync it up. It's all the same length, and then I can save and export the files by merging them down, or doing any combination of the three. I can also amplify the audio, so maybe it's not as loud as I want it to be, and I can kind of crank it up a little bit. Just like a quick example here of what I'm talking about, why I use an audio recorder versus the audio off the GoPro. This is audio from the track off my helmet cam, just to give you an idea of what this sounds like. This is with a skeleton case, right? Okay. And then this is audio off the camera facing forward in the car, and this is with a full waterproof case. So that just gives you an idea of the sound that you're working with if you just use the GoPro without a mic. And then this is audio from the three different files off the independent recorder. So that's kind of the difference in the sounds that you're getting, and you don't have to have a 4-channel recorder. Again, you can use that kind of like a micro USB to like microphone adapter, and that is going to do wonders for audio, and that's a great start. Okay, so that just about covers all the hardware that I'm using to produce the videos, as well as the software. I think in the next video we're going to cover some data logger stuff, and hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that. If you guys have questions about anything that was covered in this video about recording hardware or the software, please don't hesitate to ask. And as always, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you at the next one. Take care.